Hey everyone, it's Crystal Marshall from marshallartstudio and today we're going to talk about how to take better photos in a low light or dark place situation. Okay, so everybody can take a pretty decent photo when you're outside or when you're near a big window source, but what about if you are in a dark house that doesn't allow a lot of natural light in? Okay, I know because I live in one. So what you have to do is there's a couple things that you can do. The first thing you need to do is, one, get your camera off of doing auto. That would be the key. If you do not know how to get your camera off of auto, I will kind of give you a quick crash course right now. So on every camera you have a dial. This is for DSLRs. You have a dial. And on the dial there's, a couple of different functions. There's, let's see if I can get you in here. There you go. So on the dial you have, manual, you have aperture priority, or on Canons it's called AV. You have the S function on a Nikon. On a Canon it's called TV, I think, which is basically shutter speed. Program. Then you have all of these different presets over here. Like no flash, one might be like a mountain, a person. So there's different pictures up here. Most people only know how to go auto. That's the default on every DSLR camera when you, want to take a picture, is auto. Okay. Now the bad thing about that is that you are actually smarter than your camera. Okay. So I'm trying to get the focus back on me. Okay. I think that's pretty good. So you are actually smarter than your camera. Your camera does not really know exactly what it's doing. It's very advanced, especially like considering like 20 years ago there was no auto function. But to take better low light situations, you need to know how to get off auto. Okay. So what I would do is, I would put it on aperture mode, which is the A, or if you're shooting Canon, I think it's AV. And that way you're telling your camera to open up the lens more to allow more natural light. If you have a kit lens, like a 70 to 55 or something like that came with the camera, just sell it right now and get yourself a 50 millimeter, a 35 millimeter. You want something that has like a 1.8, 1.4. A 1.8 is going to be more in the price range that you're looking for, which is like the same cost as a kit lens. But to just sell your kit lens, you're never going to use it. You're going to thank me later. And get yourself a 50 millimeter or a 35 millimeter because it allows a lot of beautiful natural light to come into your camera. So that's what I would do. So let's say you do have a 50 millimeter on your camera. You have that aperture mode open up to the biggest possible setting, like 1.8. You're going to allow a lot of beautiful natural light coming in. You make sure your camera will already compensate shutter speed and stuff. So that's good. If you do need to adjust your ISO, the ISO is how sensitive your camera is to the darkness. Okay, so there's like basically 3 ways that your camera works. The shutter, how quickly your camera takes a picture, which is the clicking, the actual clicking sound inside is like it literally looks like a window going ka-ch, ka-ch. Then you have your aperture, which is the opening of like your pupil, but it's here. Then you have your ISO, which is your dark vision inside. The more advanced your camera is, the better dark vision you have, the more expensive it is. So if you're just looking at like a Rebel or a Nikon like D3400 or something, it's not going to be nearly as sensitive to light as like a more pro level camera. With that being said, I mean all of them take great photos, but it's going to separate the amateur from the pro if you go in the dark. So if you adjust your aperture to as big as you can, get a 50 millimeter or a 30 millimeter lens with like a 1.8, be great. If you know how to get on the A function or manual, if you adjust your ISO up, and let's say it's super dark in that room, get an external flash. I got this for like $50. You can get a newer version for Canon, Nikon. I mean, there's a ton of companies that do like third-party flashes. But what's wonderful about this kind of flash is when you have it on your camera, I never even use the flash that comes with the camera. Like, they don't even put them on more pro models, so I don't even use it. But the bad thing about the flash on the camera is that it really makes you look yellow. The color is very yellow and it's very harsh, bright light. You don't want that. It's all about the direction and the position. The quality of light is what separates an amateur from a pro. It doesn't matter if you have a $1,500 lens with a $5,000 camera. If you don't know how to control light and see good light, then it doesn't matter. You're going to have crappy photos. Okay, so light is the secret ingredient. So with that being said, if you get an external flash like this and you have it pointed to, you know, maybe angle it to the ceiling a little bit, and you point, you know, you're going to take a picture of somebody, that flash will pop up to the ceiling. I'm trying to do this opposite because I'm mirroring myself. So it's going to pop up to the ceiling, and it's going to bounce and hit that person very soft on the face, like a studio effect, but with a flash. Let's say they're next to a white wall. You can go like this and have it shoot on the white wall, and again, it will very nicely bounce off the wall and hit their face. If you go like this, that would be the same effect as if you're harsh, sending this really, really harsh light to somebody. So I would never, ever, ever point this at someone unless that's kind of the harsh effect that you are really looking for. I prefer more of a bounce flash, and that's the one thing about these flashes, which is awesome, is they come with a bounce card. So when I am at a wedding or something, I actually have the bounce card up, and that the light is shooting off the bounce card and hitting people's faces. I've been in weddings before where the room was literally so dark that even with the bounce card, like it wasn't even reaching their face. And so honestly, I know this looks really ghetto, but getting like straight up like a white, just like putting like a white you know, flash card or a white, what is it called, like a 5x7, you know, index card or that kind of thing in your wallet or in your camera bag at all times. And this one's a little too big, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And you can buy things like this on Amazon for like $5. It's basically like a foam bounce card. You can just look up bounce card. But this is what people do when they're in a pinch at a wedding. You just get like a little rubber band, get a bounce card, and it will create a bigger way for it to bounce off and hit to your subjects. So that's what I would do if I was in a low light situation. If I wasn't near a big window source, if I was in a bowling alley, you get the ISO up, you get that shutter speed down, you get that aperture as big as you can, but hold on though, because if you go that shutter speed down too low, you might have a lot of blur. Okay, this is what a lot of people don't understand. If you have to control your camera, if your ISO is too high, you're going to have a lot of grain, a lot of digital noise. If you have your shutter speed up, down too low, you're going to have blur. Okay, so it's all about control, what your camera can do, knowing your camera, knowing your gear, practice, getting yourself an external flash, practicing with that, practice bouncing it off different surfaces. But if you treat your camera like playing the violin, and you practice it every day, you're doing all sorts of lighting situations at different times in the day, different kinds of people, different situations, you're going to know how to play that instrument. So those are just some quick tips for you if you want to take better photos in low light. This is Crystal Marshall from marshallartstudio.com, and have a great day. Stay tuned for more awesome free tips.